Hello friends, welcome to edusathi.com, your partner in education. This lecture is on statements and assumptions. This is a very confusing topic, but a very important one as it forms the base of entire verbal logic. You are going to encounter a lot of questions of verbal logic in your reasoning section. So make sure you have done a lot of questions after this lecture on assumptions so that you become very comfortable in assumptions and the other topics would become very easy for you in case you have mastered the assumptions. Let's see what are assumptions. So assumption means something which is assumed or which is left unsaid. The speaker does not say that but assumes that the listener will know it. This is supposed or taken for granted that this is something that the listener will know, so the speaker says, why bother speaking it? This is always unstated. In case you read an argument or you read a line, this is always unstated. The author or the writer will assume that the reader will know this thing and therefore will leave such information from his text. In case he states that, these things become facts. A fact is always stated one. Assumption is never written in an argument and is never spoken. It is assumed that the reader or the listener will know such an information. Okay, so an assumption is a statement that is assumed by the speaker because the information is very trivial. Therefore, he avoids saying it so that he can shorten the length of his conversation. But the speaker knows that even if I miss the statement, the listener or the reader will still understand the overall argument in entirety. Okay, this is very important, that even if you don't say, still the listener or the reader is able to get the crux of your argument. This seems confusing. We'll take a few examples. It will become very clear. Okay. So another way of looking at is assumption is a thought behind the speaker's statement. Now he might be thinking a wrong thought. He might be thinking an incorrect thought, and based on that he has said something. Okay, now your job is not to check whether his belief is true or not. Okay, you are not here to judge whether whatever he is thinking is true or false. That is not the part of question. Your job would be to find the thought behind the speaker's statement. What the speaker is thinking, you have to find that, you have to mark that, and not whether it's true or false, or whether whatever he is assuming is true or false. So the crux of the entire discussion becomes, certain things are always taken to be implicit when the statement is made and are not explicitly stated. The explicitly stated things are called facts. So whatever is implicit in the argument is said to be assumed by the speaker or the writer. Let's take a very simple example. Let's say your friend is asking you, let's go for a movie. Bahubali is a good movie. Let's go and watch it. Now, what is the assumption of your friend? He is saying to you, Bahubali is a good movie. Let's go and watch it. Now, his assumption is you will go and watch with him the movie because it's a good movie. Now, you might be the most boring person on this planet Earth, and you might say, no, I'm not interested in good movie. I will go and only watch a boring movie. Okay, so you have killed the assumption of your friend. He was assuming that you might be interested to go and watch a good movie, but you have said, okay, don't assume that I am interested in good movies. I'm only interested in boring movies. Only humor me when you are going for a boring movie. Understood? You have killed his assumption that you are interested in a good movie. I hope you understand what is an assumption. He was assuming, that your friend was assuming, and that part has become the assumption. Let's take another example. What do you think or what do you assume when you see this picture? Right? It's pretty simple. There's a there's a mouse with a block of cheese in his hand, and he's getting a mouth-watering taste for that cheese. So you will assume, or we will assume, that this character Jerry or this mouse is hungry and he probably likes cheese. Okay, this is what we gather from this picture. The artist is not saying, or artist is not portraying that what actually this mouse will go and do with this cheese, but he's giving us certain hints based on which we can assume that he is hungry and he likes cheese. Let's take another example. There's a master and there's a servant. The master says to his servant, go get a pizza from the market. Okay, so the master is ordering the servant to get a pizza from the market. So the boss is actually assuming that the servant knows where to buy it from, how to buy it. Also, very important thing, that he's assuming that servant will agree to his command. Okay, so for example, if I tell you go and finish your homework or go and complete few questions after this lecture, what am I assuming? I'm assuming you know where to look for questions, how to do the questions, and that you will agree to my demand. Okay, you will agree to my request. So this is what I'm assuming. But do you end up doing all the questions? Okay, so don't get embarrassed. What will the result, whether he will get the pizza or not, pizza was delivered or not, is a part of conclusion and not the assumption. You are saying this because you are assuming these things. Whether you will get a pizza or whether the servant will get a pizza is not a part of your assumption. Similarly, can you say that the boss assumed that the waiter or the servant knows which flavor the boss likes, or does he have the money? Right? So we don't know. Maybe the master owns a pizza delivery shop or pizza shop, so the servant won't be required money. So we don't know whether this assumption is made or not. So we can for sure said money is not required. We cannot assume, or we cannot say that the boss assumed that the servant had money. Similarly, the servant knew which flavor pizza the master liked. We cannot say why, because there might be a situation, there might be a timeline wherein only one flavor of pizza is available in the market. There's such a sad times that only one flavor of pizza is available. So we cannot assume that the master has assumed that the servant will know the taste. Really confusing, right? Now let's change the word pizza from here. Right, you are getting hungry with the mention of this word. Let's change. Okay, so we have discussed this, the assumptions which are incorrect. You can pause the video, you can read it again. Let's say, go get huckleberry fin from the market. Now, can you bring me a huckleberry fin from the market? Your first question would be, what is huckleberry fin? Then, where to buy it? Then, how to buy it? Okay, whether it's in kilograms or liters, you don't know. Whether you will get it from the market or from a religious place or from a school, you don't know, right? What kind of a market it is, you don't know. So you know how to reach the market, where to get this thing, and what is this thing. So whenever you ask some questions, this is called assumption. The boss assumed that you would be knowing it, and this becomes the assumption. Okay, so I hope you understand this. The assumption is a assumed thing, a thing which is not said, explicitly said, because it's a fact. The explicitly stated thing is a fact. So whatever is assumed, or anything that is trivial enough for the speaker to not include in his argument, is the assumption. Let's see another example, a little difficult one. A previous year question: of all mobile phones manufactured in India, brand A has the highest sale. So what is the assumption in this statement? Whoever has made this statement would be thinking something. So you have to tell me the thought behind this statement. Okay, thought is the assumption. Whatever the result was there, whatever the result came after this statement is not asked to you. Okay, so the first one, mobile phones are manufactured in India. Is there a valid assumption? For this statement to be true, you will always assume the given statement is true under all possible circumstances. Your own information regarding this subject matter is not asked. So can you say that mobile phones are manufactured in India? Yes, because we know at least one brand that manufactures mobile phones in India, that is brand A. Some mobile phones are manufactured in India. Yes, again true, because we know at least one is manufactured in India. This is sufficient for us to say some mobile phones are manufactured in India. Now, brand A is the most popular mobile phone in India. What can you say about this? We are given sales figure. Popularity figure will have the preferences of the populace or the public. Whoever is saying this cannot comment upon the preferences of the public. Whoever has said this statement that brand A has a highest sale, so based on this statement, we cannot comment upon the preferences of the public. For example, Maruti and Hyundai are probably the most selling brands in India with respect to cars. But are they most popular ones also? Because I might be very tempted to buy a Mercedes or a Audi, but because of my pocket, I have to buy a Maruti or a Hyundai. So a popular brand is not equal to most sellable brand. Next, people of India prefer using mobile phone of brand A. Again, the logic given in the previous statement is applicable to this also. We cannot comment upon the preferences. Brand A is the highest selling mobile phone in India. Yes, this is a tricky one. What can you say? I know most of you will give the answer as yes, this is a valid assumption. Now check the wording carefully. I'll make another things. Check the wording carefully. Brand A is the highest selling mobile phone in India. What we know is brand A is manufactured in India, and if we compare this brand with all the other brands that are manufactured in India, then brand A has the highest sales. For example, Videocon might be the highest selling television sets in India of all the television sets manufactured in India. But if we take into account the sales of Samsung and LG, which are imported, we will not assume this thing. Okay. So, for example, iPhone is imported, it's not manufactured in India, and it might have the highest sales. But let's say among all the mobile phones that are manufactured in India, there is some XYZ brand which has the highest sale, right? So the topic or the subject was mobile phones manufactured in India. Among them, brand A has the highest sale. Whether it's the overall highest selling mobile phone, we do not know about that, right? So this is a statement given for overall and not the mobile phones manufactured in India. So this is an incorrect assumption. Next, sale figures of all mobile phones in India is known. Of all mobile phones in India, if you know of all sale figures of all the mobile phones, whether they are Indian manufactured or whether they are foreign imported, in case you know the sales figure, only then you can drive this conclusion that brand A has the highest sales. So this is a valid assumption. In case you don't know the sales figure of even one mobile phone manufactured in India, you cannot comment upon the sales of brand A. Okay, so next point is sales figure of all the mobile phones manufactured in India is known. Even better. So if either of the two things are known to me, I can comment upon the sales or the highest selling cell phone in India. From here, I can tell about mobile phones manufactured in India. From here, I can know domestic as well as imported cell phones. From here, I can only tell the highest selling domestic manufactured mobile phone. So either of the two is given, you can say it is a valid assumption. Next, the price of mobile phones of brand A is the lowest. We know the sales figure, okay? We don't know the price figure or the profit figure or the cost involved in the mobile phones or the number of models that brand A might have. So we cannot comment upon the price also. So whoever has said this statement, he would have the data of all the mobile phones in India, the sales figure of all the mobile phones in India, whether they are manufactured here or as given in this statement, or of all the mobile phones that are sold in India as given over here. And he would be very sure, or we can be very sure, that mobile phones are manufactured in India. Some mobile phones are definitely manufactured in India. Correct? I hope you get the thought behind the statements. It's like reading between the lines, reading the comments of the speaker or the writer. It's a very important quality to have. And your argumentative ability or the debating ability goes many folds in case you have a good grasp over the assumptions. Another way to look at assumptions could be, assumption is a missing link between the arguments. If there are two statements given that because Rahul Dravid is a great Indian batsman, therefore, so India will win the match. What is missing between these two? Now, Rahul Dravid is a great Indian batsman, we know. So why will India win the match? Right? There's some missing link over here. What is that? That is, great batsmen are required by India to win the match. Okay, we don't know about the bowlers, we don't know about the spinners, we do not know about fast bowlers, we do not know about the all-rounders, but according to this statement, what we know is great batsmen are required by India to win the match. So combine first statement with second statement. Rahul Dravid is a great Indian batsman and great batsmen are required by India to win the match. So what can I say? I can conclude India will win the match. So this was the missing link that was required to give this statement the authenticity. It could be, if x is greater than y, I know that y and y is greater than z. Statement A, statement B. So I know for sure that x will be greater than z. Okay. So now, in case this statement is not given and it is said to you because x is greater than y, therefore x is greater than z. So what is a missing link? This is a missing link called as assumption. This is called a fact. Okay, I hope this example clarifies a lot of things, a lot of doubts that you might have. Okay, in case you are thinking that it's a cricket match, that Rahul Dravid is a cricket player, we do not know this thing, right? You would be assuming the cricket match on your own. No hint or no information is given in the statements. It could be a baseball batsman also called as a pitcher or a batter, sorry. So in case it is only given great batsmen are required to win matches. So how will this, if this will affect India chances, right? This is a general statement. Whenever we are given a choice between general vis-a-vis specific statements, we always go with specific ones. We cannot comment from, for example, for a specific point of view, we cannot comment upon a big general issue. Okay, this is incorrect. But from a general point of view, we can always comment upon specific things, which is correct. Okay, so this is a incorrect or invalid assumption that great batsmen are required to win the matches. Great batsmen are required by India to win the match. Only then this link will sufficiently give you the information to conclude or have the validity for this question. So how will the questions will be there in your paper? Right, this is how a question might look like. In each question below, it's a group of questions, around 3 to 5 questions will be given to you. A statement or a passage is followed by two assumptions. You have to consider the statement and the following assumptions. Okay, you don't need to rake your brain to find the assumptions, they would be given to you. You just need to have checked the authenticity, whether they are true or not. Then decide which assumptions are implicit or inherent or derived from the statement. You could be given one or more words, but all this means you have to find the assumptions. You have to mark options as only assumption 1 is implicit, only assumption 2 is implicit. If either of these two could be implicit, we'll do a few questions on this, either and or. Very rarely this option is used. There are not more than 2 or 3 exams which use this option. Most common ones are 1, 2, 4 and 5. 4 says both assumption 1 and assumption 2 are implicit. 5 says neither of the two are implicit. So 1, 2, 4, 5 are most commonly used options. Third is a rarely used option. So let us look at a few examples of this topic. So there's an angry lady. She's telling a kid, if you trouble me, I will slap you. So a warning from a teacher to a student or a small kid, if you trouble me, I will slap you. Your job is to find the assumption of this lady. What is she thinking while she has said this sentence? Is it that with the warning, the child may stop troubling her? The first one. Or all children are basically naughty. Let's see. Now, the first one says, why is she giving a warning? She is assuming that if she puts a fear in the mind of a kid, the child may stop troubling her. Okay, so this is what she is assuming, she is thinking, she is having in her mind. So this is a valid assumption that this lady can have. Let's look at the second statement. It is saying all children are basically naughty. Well, I would like to ask you, were you naughty in your childhood? So, all children may not be naughty. So, the point is, we cannot comment upon the general nature of the children based on a warning issued by a teacher. Okay, now let's look at few other points so you can check your answers. The second assumption was incorrect, that all children are naughty, but the first assumption was correct, that the child will stop troubling her. This is what she was assuming, that child may get scared and may stop troubling her. So 2 points that you need to note over here. Number 1, we cannot comment upon the general nature from a specific instance. So from one instance, we cannot comment upon the many instances. Second, we are not to comment upon the conclusion of the statement. This is a very tricky area. When we'll study the next topic, statement and conclusions, this will be amply clear that this is the main trap that is being set by the examiners. They will give you options which are either conclusions or assumptions in either of the topic. So make sure you have to find the assumption in this topic and not the conclusion. The conclusion in this statement could be, the child stopped troubling the teacher. We don't know. Or the child did not pay any heed to the advice. We do not know. Okay, so what was the result? We do not know. But when the warning was issued, then the teacher was assuming that the child may get scared and stop troubling her. Okay, so your job is to tell what is the mindset of the speaker and not what will be the outcome of the task. Let's see another example. A school advertisement might be saying, it is desirable to put the child in school at the age of 5 or so. So what are the assumptions? A school is saying that 5 is a very, very appropriate age for a child, a small kid, to start his schooling. Why? Because the school may assume that the child has reached an appropriate level of development and now is ready to learn at an advanced pace. So a school is necessary, right? So this is a very, very valid assumption that the school would be having. Now, the schools do not admit children after 6 years of age. What can you say about this? Well, there are many schools who take students below 5 years and above 5 years also. Secondly, there are schools where students can switch from one school to another. So we cannot comment upon what will happen to a student who is more than 5 years of age, whether he will be getting an admission or not. We cannot comment upon this. So second is an invalid assumption, right? So you can check it over here also. Let's see another example. There's a warning issued, right? You see a lot of warnings in public places. One such warning is given in train compartment. To stop train, pull chain. Okay, with a clause that penalty for improper use is rupees 500. Now think, why will the railways department be putting such a warning? Okay, so some people misuse the alarm chain. What can you say? Yes, only then, that's why they have imposed a fine of rupees 500 for an improper use. So this is a very valid assumption. Second, on certain occasions, people may want to stop a train. Okay, people may. You should understand the difference between may and can. May is a probability scenario that it may or may not happen. We are not sure. Can is a sure shot scenario that something will be done. Okay, so here people may want to stop a train. That's why they have put a reminder that you can pull the chain to stop the train. Okay, because the railways department know that people may want to stop a train on certain occasions. So now we come to a disclaimer. Okay, so disclaimer is for improper use, but you can still stop the train by pulling the chain. Next assumption is threat of penalty will prevent the people from pulling chain. Yes. Will it help? A threat of penalty. Now, read the words very carefully. If there is a threat of penalty, it will certainly reduce the number of people pulling the chain. What you need to say is, will it prevent this event completely? Okay, so because of this word prevent, it's a wrong one. For example, if there is no warning, there might be X number of people pulling the chain for improper use. But with the warning, that number will certainly reduce. Okay, so the word that should be used over here is reduced. This will make a correct assumption, but it will certainly bring it down to 0 is something we do not know and might not be possible. Then people will stop pulling the train after getting the warning. Again, this is a part of a conclusion. What will happen, we don't know. But while putting this warning, the railway would have assumed these two things, that yes, people do need to stop the train sometimes in case of emergency, but in case someone is using it improperly, then there should be a fine. So it means some people do misuse the alarm. Okay, so I hope you are able to get what are assumptions and how to find it. You have to find the thought behind the speaker or the writer. Let's take another example. This is the explanation for the question. You can just pause the video, you can read it. Okay, let's see another example. This drink can be had either as it is or after adding ice to it. An advertisement. So this is an advertisement about a drink which is giving two options. You can either have that drink as it is, or you can add ice to it and then have it. So what is this company thinking? The company which is giving the advertisement, or the manufacturer of the drink, what is it thinking? People differ in their preferences. Second, some people will get attracted to the drink as it can be had as it is. People differ in preferences. What does this mean? That different people may want to try different things in different ways. In case this is true, it means the company is giving them options. So this becomes a valid assumption, that because there are people with preferences, so people might like two different things. So this statement, this company is giving two options, two preferences, because people might like two different things. Then some people will get attracted to the drink as it can be had as it is. Yes, this is a valid assumption. Why? They are giving you two options. Either you can have as it is, or you can add ice to it. So it means some people will like the drink as it is. Another assumption true could be some people might like the drink after adding ice to it. So the company is thinking that we can target two set of audiences, one who can have drink in this way, second one that can have drink in this way, and that there are people who will try these things. Therefore people differ in their preferences. So both the assumptions are valid for the given statement. Okay, I hope you understand this also. Next one. The working environment in Indian public sector is undisciplined and irresponsible. Therefore, some harsh punishment should be meted out to the guilty. A cause is given and a probable effect is given, that something is bad, therefore some punishment should be meted out, should be given out to the guilty party. So what is a valid assumption? First, the environment in Indian public sector is not ideal. Okay. So what is the environment like in Indian public sector? It's indisciplined and irresponsible. So that is certainly not ideal. It's a very valid assumption that something is wrong with the Indian public sector. Second, giving harsh punishment would improve the situation. Now you see, it is improving the solution. It's not completely weeding out corruption or weeding out all the indiscipline or irresponsibility, right? It's improving upon the situation. Yes, when you are giving harsh punishment, you expect some improvement from the present situation. So this is again a very, very valid assumption. Next, the benefits of this action will outweigh any disadvantages if arise. Now, because of your harsh action, there will be certain repercussions also. The employees might go on strike and will completely shut down the work. So there will be certain disadvantages also. So if you are giving out a valid assumption, so if you are giving out such a statement, then you are assuming that yes, there will be certain disadvantages also, but benefits will be more and disadvantages would be less. So this becomes a very valid assumption. Now, few invalid assumptions. Let's take an example that what could be the invalid assumptions which few people might think. The environment in public sector is pathetic. The first option was not ideal. This is pathetic. Again, understand the difference between low versus poor. Low is not equal to poor. Why? In case you have scored less marks, or in case your income level is low, it means you are expecting a salary of 1 lakh per month, but you are getting a salary of 50,000. It is low. But in case you are expecting a salary level of 1 lakh, but somehow, or you deserve a salary of 1 lakh, but you are getting a salary of 20,000, then it's a poor. It's both words are in relative terms, but low is not equal to poor. Same way, good is not equal to better. Good is relatively good is something which you feel to be good. Better is, yes, it has improved, but certainly not up to the level of well or goodness. So here we know the situation is not ideal. The situation in Indian public sector is not ideal, but is it pathetic? We do not know. So this is a invalid assumption. Next one, the Indian public sector will perform better in coming years after we are giving out punishment to the guilty party and all those steps that you are taking. We do not know. Okay. We do not know the result. This is a result or a conclusion. We do not know how Indian public sector will fare out in the coming years. Presently, it needs a lot of improvements. But having done all the improvements, will it become very, very good, or will it perform better? I don't know. While taking this action, whoever is taking this action, he is assuming that situation will improve. But it will definitely improve or not, we do not know. Okay. So your job is not to comment upon the result or a conclusion. It is to give what the speaker is thinking. The thought behind an action or a step or a statement is what your job is to find out. Let's take another example. Opening a library in Delhi would be a waste. A very controversial topic. But if someone has said this statement, understand what is that person thinking while giving out this statement that opening up a library in Delhi would be a waste. Is he thinking that inhabitants of Delhi are illiterate? Or is he thinking inhabitants of Delhi are not interested in reading? Now, just because opening up a library in a city is a wasteful thing, it does not mean that the citizens are illiterate. Why? There might be a case that people prefer reading own books instead of going to a library. Okay, it means people are literate, but they buy their books instead of going to a library. Second, inhabitants of Delhi are not interested in reading. Well, I don't know. opening up of a library in Delhi would be a waste could be based on a situation that there are already multiple libraries available. There are already many libraries present in Delhi. Therefore, a new library would be a waste of time and space. So there is no requirement. But based on that, we cannot comment upon the literacy level of Delhiites or the interest in reading of the Delhiites. Okay. So I hope you have understood this topic. I hope you will do a lot of questions. I'll assume, okay, let me use the word assume. Now we have understood the meaning of assume. I'll assume that you have understood this topic well and you will do a lot of questions, right? The result, you will get a lot of marks, is something that is not, I can assume. Let's see how you will fare out in your competitive exams.